Welcome to the Artist Notepad, where we explore artistry, we talk life, and we talk a wide array of subjects.
Aha.
I'm David.
And I'm Jack. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode 10 Artistry with Array. Today, we're going to be chatting with the boys from Array about their latest single, which just dropped a few days ago. The single is called The Dark Side of Summer. David and I are very excited to unpack this one, aren't we, David?
Very, very excited, man.
But before we kick on with that, before we jump straight into the deep end, David, how are you doing?
Did you ask how I was doing? Because it just cut out for a sec.
No, I absolutely.
Well, thanks for asking. Well, thanks for asking, Jack. I'm doing very well, my friend. Another week serving coffee at the cafe.
Living the dream.
Making that latte art. Some cute girls roll by sometimes. I say, hey.
Hey now, careful.
Hey now. But yeah, doing all right, man. I just came from like a stressful gig though. A lot of like sound stuff today, but can't complain. Let me plug here just for a second.
Absolutely, go for it.
On the 27th of June, 7 p.m, there will be a live stream concert and I'll be doing the sound for it. So check it out. 10, 12 amazing Asian Australian acts, and yeah, it will be all streamed live, so join if you can. We're gonna raise funds for food bank, so if you feel like you feel nice, you feel like a charitable person that day, feel free to spare $1 for someone to have some food. But
awesome, man. Like you guys actually doing something performance related during this time. There's not many people doing that.
Yeah, man, it's sick. It's gonna be on YouTube. You can be cozy in your room with your pajamas on, watching the show.
That's what we want.
Yeah, but how you doing, man? How you doing?
Yeah, man, not bad. I actually had a pretty good day today, you know. I went for a bit of a walk, which was nice. Head to a cafe, not yours, unfortunately. Wasn't one of the pretty girls who walked past your cafe.
Yeah.
But I did walk past mine. Got a mean bacon and egg sandwich. Went down really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I actually bought some painting stuff because I've sort of referenced before, but Amelia is a really cool artist. She does some visual art, and so does her mum. And I've actually got work from both of them in my room, which is pretty sick. But yeah, I just tried my hand at it. It's probably not my forte, but it's nice and relaxing. So when there's not much else to do, I might whip out the paintbrush and, you know, do a few.
Whip out that brush, bro.
You know, yeah.
That's cool, man.
But that's all that's really been happening with me. Not much, just been chilling out.
Yeah, that's nice, bro. Nice hobbies to have during this season.
Exactly.
But without any further ado, if you have no more things to say, I would love to introduce.
I'm so done. I would love to talk more, but really, my life's not that eventful at the moment.
Oh, it's all right, bro. We have our ups and downs. But I would love to introduce the first band we've ever had on Tan. They're a 4-piece alternative outfit who have been in and around Sydney scene for a while now, but really began carving a name for themselves with a successful debut EP titled Save Face in 2019. This year, the boys have released 2 great singles, with the most recent dropping only a few days ago. The band is composed of Stan Doyle, James Peppercorn, Joel Kelett, and Thom Henderson. Please welcome Array.
Hip hip,
Array.
Hip hip, Array.
We get it.
That's new.
How you boys doing?
Yeah, we're alright.
Yeah, not too bad. Very good.
Pretty full. Had some food.
Some fried chicken. Can't complain.
Just had a pretty long.
Yeah, we were going to ask because, you know, you actually palmed us off for a bit there because you were...
Because we were eating.
Yeah, sorry.
It was the first time as well. Usually we make the guest wait, but for the first time, the guest made us wait.
You know when you go in for like an interview at like a place which is, you know, a bit pretentious and they make you wait a bit just so you know who's boss. That's what we normally do.
That's what we would do.
Yeah, it was a power play.
You did it back to us, man.
We'll see.
Well, guys, congratulations to start off with the new single. I gotta say, like, it took me back a little bit because I wasn't hugely in touch with everything you guys were doing, but I knew roughly the sound. There was a sound that I was familiar with that you guys produced. And so listening to this new track, I sort of almost did a double take because it's a completely different sound, but it's a super interesting one. How did the new sound come about for this single? Was it anyone in particular who introduced that, or did it just sort of come around naturally?
That was me.
Stanos.
Stanos.
Well, there's an interesting story behind this, fellas. So
Buckle up for the ride. We're ready, bro.
basically, this track actually started its life as a bridge section for another of our songs, which is also on our new EP, which is coming up. But basically, the bridge just kept getting longer and longer, to the extent that it just became a new track in of itself. That was the only real solution left, really. And so, and yeah, it was pretty. It was just a sort of organically. It just became like an EDM track, and I don't really know how or why, but it just did. You know, and I've always kind of listened to electronic artists like the Presets and those kind of acts. So I think that's probably where it came from, but I didn't really think too much about it. You know, I was sort of conscious that I wanted to do something a little bit different than last time out, in that our first EP is essentially just a rock EP. So all the tracks are quite alternative rock, and I thought, well, it'd be cool to have some different stuff and just see how people respond to it, you know?
Freak out people a little, you know, keep them on edge.
Well, clearly it worked on me. Is this a sound that you guys would try to maybe jump back into, maybe revisit this sound, or do you reckon this will be more of a one-off?
I think we'll probably.
Definitely something to visit.
I think balancing out this with the rock stuff, especially combining the two, and starting to really add that electronic element to the rock side, is kind of what we're going for. Make it more stadium-esque, big.
And I think we're all quite keen on. Well, I myself, and I suspect the other guys as well, all quite keen on the idea of pursuing tracks which sound like electronic music but consist of acoustic instruments. So,
Sure, yeah. That was definitely noticeable to me, the acoustic guitars. It was a really nice touch.
I mean, acoustic guitars got quite a big role in that track.
Yeah.
You know, with all those other electronic elements that are going on. So I think that's something that we want to keep working towards.
Well, I also noticed you went with a strategy that I see more and more artists doing these days, and that's targeting Triple J first. So I'm sure most of our listeners would have heard of Triple J Unearthed, but for those who haven't, Triple J Unearthed. Well, boys, how would you describe Triple J Unearthed? Because you're the ones who just attacked it. So
Yeah, you guys.
It is complicated. It was an accident.
It was an accident.
Yeah.
We didn't mean for it to be released.
I mean,
oh, really?
we anticipated originally that the track would take longer to upload and get approved by the Triple J people on Unearthed than it would on Spotify and everything. So we were expecting it to be uploaded after it was the streaming services.
So there was actually a mistake made on my behalf, which was I uploaded it as a track, but you have to bounce it down to 190 kilobytes.
Very small file.
Yeah, tiny file. And I did that on GarageBand and sort of didn't notice that I left the click on. So I had to... our manager, Ruby, messaged me and was like, hey, did you upload the track? And I was like, oh, yeah, and went and listened to it. Hadn't been posted yet. And realized that the click was on there. And I was like, oh, shit.
Oh, no.
And I thought it would take a lot longer to repost. So
It's only out later.
Yeah. And I thought it would take another month or so to upload. So then I reposted it again. And then the next day, apparently, it was out.
Yeah, man. Well, I've done the same thing. Thankfully, it hasn't been my final bounce. Message to all listeners out there, like, listen first.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys will not be making that same mistake again.
Check it.
It worked to our advantage, so it's all right.
It works.
Yeah. It's interesting because, as I was saying, it's actually a strategy, even if it was an accident for you guys, that I've seen people doing in terms of putting it exclusively on Triple J Unearthed, which, is a platform that's sort of Triple J, the radio station, make something a bit more available for up-and-coming artists to put their music on there and try and gain some traction within the underground Sydney scene or Australian scene. And the idea of putting it exclusively on there is you get as many people to listen to it as possible. It starts going up in the charts, and then you get a bit of traction going in Sydney before on Triple J on Earth before going on to streaming services. But so it's funny that you guys did that accidentally. But so you said that it ended up working in your favor. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Well, it was because when it actually finally when it appeared on Triple J on Earth, the only reason we discovered that it was up was because we got all these emails from different people, PR companies and Happy Mag and all of these different people saying, "Oh, we love the new track," and we were taken aback and sort of went, "How the hell have you heard it?"
Did you hack us or something? Did you hack us? It's like,
oh shit, it's been leaked. So I think I've suggested it to Stan before that we release it on Triple J on Earth prior to the actual release. But we've just never got around to doing that.
Shut them down every time.
Yeah, shut me down every time. And then when it actually went up and we were like, okay, let's not say it quite yet, but exactly a week before, announce that it's on Triple J Unearthed, it started to pick up a whole load of streams. It's at number 77 on the Triple J Unearthed charts. And we suspect it will crack the top 20 when everything refreshes next week. That'll be good.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed it'll get in the top 50. Be happy with that. Yeah.
Woo! Because you guys are ranking quite good right now as well, right? You guys made it into the 100. Now you're like 70-ish. You're in the 70s, aren't you?
Yeah, 77.
And that was when it had about 80 streams. And it's got 300 on Triple J Unearthed.
Yeah,
that's a good number for Unearthed.
Yeah.
So hoping next week it'll be a bit higher.
Yeah.
So right. I have a question for the track before I lead into another question. But like the first thing I thought of when the Dark Side of Summer played on my Spotify was, is that a basketball at the start? Is that a recording of a basketball or?
It's a combination. It's a. Technically speaking, it's a signed sub frequency side chained to the kick, which is also doubled with a pitched cowbell and some reverb. So
there you go.
Dang.
That's the first time I've heard anyone describe it as a basketball, but I can definitely hear that now.
Do you feel me? Yeah.
I was going to say, like I don't want to be too harsh, but if there was one piece of advice that I could give you guys for the future, it would be that maybe it needs more cowbell.
Yeah.
Never enough.
We actually had to buy a cowbell because we didn't own one until the studio. We went to the studio and found it.
Yeah.
And put it on the track.
Right.
So we've actually been searching to get Tom.
Yeah. Oh, we actually got a cowbell. Me and Stan.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah. So that's sorted.
The question I wanted to lead into was kind of going back into like how you guys identify more as just an alternative band now. But it might sound silly, but having a band, right? What are the roles kind of in the band? Like the idea I have is like if someone is the lead singer, then the lead singer kind of is like the leader of the group, and that's the idea I have in my mind. But what's it like for you guys? What's it like for Array when it comes to like composing music or coming up with tracks? Like maybe you guys can like talk about your roles and like what you do for the band.
Yeah.
Well, basically, as it stands at the moment, and I think this is partly because Thom and Joel were also quite new to the band, but I think before that as well, I've basically got I'm lucky enough to have quite an advanced setup here in terms of recording equipment, and I kind of started accumulating a lot of gear.
Nice.
Right.
Lots of money.
So it's gone to the stage where I basically spend all of my free time doing demos now. So I mean, by demos, I just mean different tracks. So not all of these tracks are necessarily going to end up as Array tracks. I try and give some of them to other people as well, and try and find other singers and artists who might be interested in picking them up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically I'll get these guys to listen to the demos, and then we'll work out which ones we think would work for Array. as array tracks, and then keep working on them from there. And I'll sort of keep bouncing off these different versions of the demos over and over again to these guys until we get it to a stage where we're ready to record them, basically.
And basically, when we get to the lyric section, Stan writes his... Well, I don't even know what they are. They're not really poetry.
Basically, the lyrics...
Shit poetry.
the lyrics I write tend to be the last thing I do. So Pep sometimes will contribute in that regard as well, in terms of the lyric writing. But I think Dark Side of Summer...
it was just sampling things over and over.
Yeah, like those lyrics I wrote in Dark Side of Summer I actually wrote them quite early on, and I think Pep kind of hated them to start with.
Yeah.
But then when I explained that I kind of liked them for the reason that they sort of contributed to this idea of disorientation, which was I was also trying to match in the music. I guess in the sense of there's lots of different vocal parts going on randomly all the time. And I think the lyrics kind of supported that general idea that I wanted to portray. And so I think we ended up basically sticking with them as they were from the start, effectively.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
So basically you're a democracy. You guys still have like a vote. Like everyone has a voice when it comes to releasing music. Like Stan's not the dictator. It's not Stanos.
It's not a solo project, you know? It's like it's gotta be
It's a democracy.
Yeah. Like even if it's not necessarily like a hands-on contribution, it's still like at the very least it'll be like these guys are telling me exactly their thoughts on a track, which is the best feedback you can get, because you don't want loads of people in your band, you know, telling you that the track's great if it's not, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
If it's shit, I want them to tell me what part of it is shit and what we can do to fix it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Who's the most brutally like honest when it comes to that? Like someone who's like maybe like some like one of you guys might be like quite soft on, I think this is okay, or
which one are you most scared to present a new track to?
Most scared to present a new track, or who's the most savage when it comes presenting a new track?
Or like when it comes to feedback, like who's the most savage when it comes to feedback?
I'm ruthless when Stan sends me stuff. I'm very happy to say it. I'm very happy to say, Stan, this is shit.
Yeah.
Burn it.
Pep and I have known each other for a long time, so I think we've kind of gotten to a stage in our friendship and where we don't really hold anything back.
So questions are coming up like, why are you even a musician? Give up, like retire now.
What have you done?
You'll never amount to anything. Like supportive stuff like that.
We need a new lead singer.
No, but it's that, you know, I think at the end of the day, it's just important, like, no matter what decision we come to, I just don't think you can take it personally. You know, at the end of the day, like, if it's brutal feedback, it's just brutal feedback on the music, you know, and it's just about trying to get it as good as possible. Like, everyone's working towards the same goal here at the end of the day. So I think brutal feedback is the best feedback, really. It might not be great, it might not feel great at the time, but in the end, you'll end up with a better product. You know?
So I have a question about the title, the titular lyric of the song. When you say Dark Side of Summer in the song, there's this really cool effect where it sounds like it's almost like, I don't know what it is, but I'm really interested. How did that...
Like it's partly robotic.
Yeah. It's a really cool effect. How did you create that effect?
That was actually a vocal sample which I'd already recorded in one of the demos for one of the other tracks, the same track which the Dark Side of Summer was originally supposed to be the bridge of. But in the chorus vocal take that I did for that demo, I took like a brief section of very full voice, high pitched me singing in the chorus, and then basically just cut it up into this rhythmic pattern, and then pitched it. I did lots of different layers and pitched them up and down, and came up with this kind of cool rhythmic pattern, which I then later added the lyrics, "The Dark Side of Summer," over it. So, and it was just pure chance that it actually fit over that.
Right. Okay. Sounds awesome. It's maybe my favorite part of the track when that
good
that synthy sound comes in over the top. It's really cool. So before we progress any further, I realize we haven't actually discussed who actually does what in the band. So Stan, we've touched on the fact that you're the lead singer. I know you play guitar as well. Guys, do you want to, each one of you, just say your name so people can actually hear who's talking when you guys are talking and what you actually do in the band?
Let's go from left.
All right. Hi, my name's Tom. I play drums in the band.
An egg shaker.
And egg shaker occasionally. If Joel needs some like backing just to like make it stronger, I'll play egg shaker as well. So yeah, I'll do that role.
I'm James. I play bass, and really not much else. I'm a bit useless, to be honest. I jump around a lot. I don't wear a shirt.
Pep's an energetic performer.
Yeah, he's the mascot,
which is his
I like jumping.
Cheerleader.
That's his
Stage presence.
His crowning quality is his energetic live performance, for sure.
Wow. Yeah. And I am Joel, and I play guitar, samples, and egg shaker. So I do like a lot of the electronic stuff and the backup guitar bits, so it sort of sounds a bit more full.
Joel's like the Andrew Flintoff of the band, you know, like complete all rounder,
man.
you know, fast bowler, batsman, and you know can catch the ball.
So Joel, given this latest track has quite a lot of electronic elements, does your role in with the electronic stuff, with the sample stuff, does that come into fruition during the creation process as well as the performance process?
Yeah, I think so for sure. So for this track specifically, I wasn't actually part of creating this at all. I was actually drafted in after the song. I was pretty much swindled by this song actually.
We had him in the studio.
Yeah, they had me in the studio and like they knew I did like a bit of like drums and percussion stuff, and I had a sample pad.
So we hired him for that.
We
hired him for the
specifically for the purpose.
And now he won't leave. He just keeps sticking around.
Yeah, it's like
it's like an ornament.
Like a bad smell.
Couldn't get rid of it.
A bad smell that grows on you. Yeah.
That's it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It gets better over time.
Hey Tom, I have a question for you. When will we hear more egg shaker action from you?
Yeah, man. We need the egg shaker.
Yeah.
When it's demanded, which in a lot of our upcoming songs is quite frequent. I mean, some of the times I might just stop doing the drum kit altogether and just focus on the egg shaker. It's a very integral.
Nice. Can we maybe in the next track, can we get an egg shaker solo maybe?
Maybe. I've been working on some stuff, man. I've been working on some stuff.
That could work.
Awesome.
That could be
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, don't give too much away. I know everyone's very excited, so we'll keep it under wraps for now. All right, guys. Well, you mentioned before that you used to be more of an alt rock band, and these days you're more just alt. But there's definitely still some kind of, even in the latest track, there's definitely still sort of a British rock vibe going on in your tracks. And it's more evident in the EP and in the other singles. But where did that inspiration for British rock come about? Is that just always something that you guys have vibed with, or has that just been a direction that you've decided to head towards?
So Stan and I actually met when we were in year 8.
Well, we would have met in year 7.
Year 7. So we were like 13 or 14, and we actually bonded over the fact that we could miss our German class by listening to Radiohead in a back corner.
It's funny, I was going to mention Radiohead. I definitely got a Radiohead vibe.
There's a serious, and I think growing up as well, I think I was telling Tom today actually, like the first CD that I sort of really engaged with was just the only CD that my parents had in the car at the time, and it was The Bends by Radiohead. And I think I've kind of carried that kind of sad boy British rock with me, like
his entire life.
Yeah, and I think I'm starting to be able to shed that at certain points in certain tracks, but I think it's gonna probably stay with me, forever. Like, it sort of finds its way into pretty much everything I do.
Right.
And also I'd say I listened to a lot of Muse as a kid. Like that was really what inspired me to properly learn the guitar. I think I saw Muse playing that track Uprising on the Jules Holland's show when I was about 12, and that was like Jesus Christ, I've got to really start learning the guitar, So yeah, I think that's probably why you're thinking of Radiohead. And
No, well, it comes through, so it's good. You kind of want your influences to come through.
That and Oasis as well.
Oasis are big.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Stan and I were both brought up on that.
Arctic Monkeys as well.
Arctic Monkeys.
Coldplay, Block Party, those kind of bands.
U2.
Oh, U2, yeah, massive. I think on our other track, Memories, which was the other single for this upcoming EP, I think Where the Streets Have No Name by U2 was probably the biggest thing that I was trying to emulate a little bit of, especially with that long intro track as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically my influences.
That's dope. Another question I have is that came when I think about bands, because if I'm honest, like listening to rock or like band composed music or like a 4-piece kind of number, like the first thing that comes to mind is like how you guys are still staying like inspired or like driven to kind of keep continuing music, especially in this like pandemic season. It's like, because you guys are very heavily driven from like live performances, and you guys aren't like SoundCloud rappers who can just keep like posting songs out. It's like you guys need that.
Heard our SoundCloud rap EP, which will be coming out.
No, really?
It'll be released soon enough.
We did do a little bit of that while we were setting up like the recording stuff for this podcast. Like I did a little test run and then cut out some sections of Joel and me, made a little trap beat to it.
Awesome.
But yeah, returning to the actual question, David. Yeah, because you guys are a band, obviously, like the performance scene or the live music scene is a lot more important to you than maybe a lot of contemporary acts these days it is for them. So how has that affected you guys?
Well, it's like we just
write. We write and we focus on like perfecting all the songs that we have. And now that we can actually all be in the same room, we came back to practice being like, oh shit, this is going to be terrible. This is going to sound awful. And we ran through our set list of what will be.
Everyone looks at the set list.
Everybody looks at the set list in the corner, written on the wall. Yeah. And it sounded exceptional. It was just like so much energy to be back.
It was like better than the last time we played it all before our gig.
I was hungry to get back, I think.
Yeah.
So it does, it is really frustrating not being able to play. Like, if it were up to me, we'd be playing like at least once a week, or if not more. Like, it's like kind of what
we love.
It's what I definitely think, especially for Array songs. I think it's basically what I think about, particularly with the tracks that we make. Is like, will this work at the Lansdowne on a Saturday night? Will people get around it?
Right.
That's what you got to think about, because especially for like, I think a big part of our appeal is probably the live performances. And it's like, well, I guess it's kind of like the same as an artist like Travis Scott or someone like that. They probably sit down and think, wow, is this track gonna
explode?
Is this going to explode at a festival of like 50,000 people or whatever? It's kind of like the same thing for us. It's like, can people sing along to this melody? Can they dance to it? Is it pumping?
Is it a banger?
Is it a banger?
It's really funny that you say that, because my first experience with you guys, I don't know if you remember this, but you did a gig at Valve Bar. And I was actually doing sound there that night. I don't know if you are aware of that, but I was actually the sound engineer that night. And that night, it was just two of you there. And it was like a very cut back, very chilled out gig.
That was I remember that.
Oh, wow.
There was a lot of technical issues to start off with, but once you guys got going, it was a really cool vibe. It was very relaxed, but it was interesting because once I heard that and then went to check you guys out, because I checked out everyone in the actual music after that night, I was just like, is this the same band? And I almost had to do a double take, because like the energy that's in your recording performances was crazy. Like I personally, I really like the cut back version as well. I don't know if that's something that you guys would consider doing again in the future, but it's interesting to hear you say that like you write songs with the intention for it to go off.
I think we've got the potential, and I think we've discussed this before about in terms of playing different venues, like, so the Lansdowne Hotel is one thing, right? But then if we were playing, I mean, I don't know where we'd be playing.
Small bar,
wedding. A wedding, yeah. Say we're playing a wedding. Then obviously, I think we'd be able to, you know, find ways of playing that material differently. You know what I mean? And just being able to fit the right vibe. I think, like, we played a gig at there's the Macquarie U Bar, which was back in February, I think, and that was a very different vibe. You know, there was a lot of people there that wouldn't ever have set foot in the Lansdowne. But that was a great test for us, because we kind of got a great gauge of what bits of our music they were sort of engaging more with. You know what I mean? And I think that's definitely something that we consider now in terms of trying to appeal to a wider range of people.
A wide array, yeah.
Wide array.
But yeah, and I think at the end of the day, we just, like, I think with Save Face, like, personally, I really liked the tracks that we did on Save Face, but I can see, looking back on them now, that not all of them would appeal to everyone. You know what I mean? And I think now it's much more, there's more of a focus on making sure that there's something in every song which everybody ideally should be able to enjoy listening to, if that makes sense. So whether it's
absolutely, yeah, it's interesting if that sound that you continue with for the Dark Side of Summer. I feel like that sound is very diverse in terms of the sort of people that it could attract, and I think that the early reaction to that on Triple J Unearthed is sort of an indication of the fact that a lot of people seem to be liking that sound.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and that's partly why it was so exciting to see that happening on Unearthed, because that kind of we hadn't, I mean, to be fair, like, we hadn't ever gotten an email from anyone about one of our tracks after it's been released like that. Like, I think we got 3 emails in like
a day,
in a day, which was like, holy shit, you know, like. So I mean, but the problem,
we're famous.
Yeah, so I think really we just need. What we are really targeting now is just that first play on Triple J, like the actual national radio, you know, because we just need something like that will just
push it a bit further,
you know, and it just introduce it to more people, because there's only so many people that we, as 4 young lads, you know, with our mates and their mates, can really reach without that kind of platform. You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
so really, I think all the focus now is on that and just trying to plug it as hard as we can to radio.
Right.
You know, getting on as many podcasts, you know, whatever, radio,
man,
whatever it might be. Like, it's just
get ready for like 20 emails after the podcast.
Yeah,
bro.
man, we're worldwide, so you know. David and I were speaking before the show. Like, now we're famous and everything. We thought the least we could do is give back to, you know, some people who you guys are in the position like we used to be back in the day, you know, before we blew up worldwide. So we thought, you know, we just lend a favor to you guys to help you out.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, you know, we're all
so kind of you.
We're all in the same. But yeah, I mean, I do think it is unfortunate that Triple J seems to be the only gatekeeper to the Australian music industry. I think that's a real shame, because effectively it places an awful lot of power in the hands of like 2 or 3 music directors.
Sure, yeah.
And it's like, well, if it doesn't appeal to those 2 or 3 people, then you've got no chance of getting on. And that kind of infuriates me a bit. But then again, it's like everyone's in the same boat. So
no, I'm with you. I know of a particular artist who, I won't mention their name, but they've really had their growth stunted, even though they came onto the scene and everyone seems to be really enjoying what they're doing. Their live performances go off, but a particular person up top wasn't keen, and because of that, they haven't really received much.
That's it.
Much of a spotlight.
Dang.
Yeah, it's the most frustrating thing, because we know that the music is quality, and you know, we've seen the early reaction we got on Triple J Unearthed, and it's like, well, it's just frustrating that effectively that's all for nothing unless we can get to that next step, you know, which is getting that first radio play, you know, just getting it out to that massive audience, you know.
Yeah.
So,
well, it sounds like you guys are on the right track with the reaction that you've received so far, and just from a musicology respect, it sounds great. So yeah, I'm sure you guys will be all good.
That makes me happy enough, you know. Like, I'm like, well, fair enough, you know. if people were appreciating it.
One person at a time.
That's it. Yeah.
Before we continue, let's just wind it back because I realized that we didn't even ask a question that's pretty important. Like, why are you guys called Array? Where did the name come from?
Oh no.
This is a terrible story.
Oh gosh. All right.
You didn't have to ask that.
Basically, it wasn't. The first thing I need to say is it wasn't my choice.
Okay. This isn't a good start.
But effectively, it's a combination of basic or two of our biggest influences musically.
Wait, let me guess. Arctic Monkeys
Yeah.
and not Coldplay.
No.
No.
Radiohead. Radiohead.
Oh, radio. Right.
Right.
But
So it's ARRA. So first two letters of both bands.
Nice.
We
Nice.
apologize in advance.
Maybe we shouldn't have asked that question. Hey, David.
It's never too late for a name change. You guys, it's still early on in your careers. Like,
I spend at least an hour every day thinking of new names. And
the whiteboard in front of you is just full of new names with like
man.
X's in front of them. Yeah.
No, it's a good name. Just maybe
yeah.
come up with a cool story behind it, like some really like crazy,
story than that. Yeah.
like 10-minute long like journey that it led to that, and it's, all sorts of
We'll spend
insanity.
a day thinking about it and then come back to you.
Awesome,
We'll re-record this part. Don't worry.
I cut it out.
All right. Well, there's one more question that I want to ask you guys just before we head to the final question. And this question, it's a little bit more sensitive. So if you guys don't feel comfortable answering it, then we can just cut it out.
We can cut it out and feel free to stay silent. Like, no harm
honestly,
done.
you don't have to answer it if you don't feel comfortable. But which one of you is best for the ladies? because usually it's the drummer in bands, but then Array is an alternative band, so maybe there's an alternative answer.
Oi.
Not Stan.
I've got a girlfriend, so I shouldn't really say anything. But Joel has been on a hot streak this week, and we've been hearing all the juicy goss. You know, he's been up to no good this week.
Wow.
Well, maybe we should stop there because it sounds like this content would really be pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable.
Could be a bit dangerous.
I've got details if you want.
Give us the details. We like the juicy deets.
Maybe we'll chat after the show. You know, like let's,
For sure.
I've seen footage.
I've seen footage.
No, I haven't actually seen footage. That'd be weird. No.
all right. Well, David, do you wanna ask the boys the final question, which we've been asking everyone every
Sure
week?
thing. Yeah, so we've been asking a lot of artists that come on just to give the people, the listeners, some advice in this pandemic season to stay inspired, to stay motivated in whatever that they do, whether it be in an artistic sense or whether it be just like living life, right? Like, what do you guys like? Do you guys have a piece of advice that you want to share with your listeners, your fans, on that?
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah,
start.
Tom, you
No,
said.
I'm not starting. Joel, you start.
Joel, you said.
Alright,
Inspired.
okay, well, my piece of advice would be
Go hard,
Read-
Amy.
my piece of advice would be keep in touch with your friends. Make sure they're all, doing all right. Make sure they're all okay, and take some time to organize some stuff with them.
Awesome. Well, that's a nice message because David, is it Men's Health Week this week, or is that?
It's myself.
I think
There you
it is,
go.
man. I think
What a
it
good
is.
message. What a good message you're sending out. Boy band who care about men's health.
Yeah.
Of course, ambassadors for it.
Yeah.
Do you guys identify as a boy band, or is that offensive?
Not if we go on a world tour.
No. We're boys in a band.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we'll chat to you again after the world tour. So stay in touch.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much, boys, for coming on the show. It's been an awesome chat. It's actually time's sort of flown by.
Is there any sneak peek or previews or dates or like things you want to talk about before we end it? Like properly end it?
I have heard on the grapevine that there's an EP on the way. Is that true?
Oh, there isn't. Yeah. Well, yes. Effectively, it hasn't been specifically announced yet. We're sort of waiting to see.
There's actually 2.
We're actually
Wow.
we're actually waiting to
The
see.
SoundCloud one as well.
Yeah. That makes 3.
I'm waiting for that hip hop EP, man. I want that hip hop.
But there's 2 more tracks on there which we haven't quite released yet.
And also, we have a little thing coming out connected with the Dark Side of Summer.
Awesome.
We won't discuss that any further, but we've got a few things coming out with that.
There's a little bit of content.
A little bit of content.
Nice.
Oh, and one more thing before we wrap up. I've forgotten about this. Guys, where can people find you on your social medias? Where can people, and also on on streaming services? Where are you guys? Where's your music available? Where are your socials?
We're
Plug time.
We're on absolutely everything under Array, ARRAY, and on Instagram you can find us at Array Band, all underscore.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sick.
Too easy. Well, we'll chuck your links, your links in our description.
Perfect.
But yeah, David, I reckon that's all for this week.
That's it, man. That's it.
We will be taking a 1 week break next week. There are things happening in our lives which just mean that it's not really going to sync up. But we'll be back again in 2 weeks' time. And David, I'll miss you.
I'll miss you too, bro. I like these weekly chats we have. I haven't seen you face to face in like months, but
There's a date in
still
the diary.
feels nice. Still
There's a date
feels
in the
nice
diary.
like this. Yeah, but we'll be back with a juicy episode, taking a deep dive again, talking about something deep.
But guys, Array, thank you so much for coming on. You've been awesome guests. It's been a great chat. You guys seem like a great bunch, and we can't wait to see where you guys are headed.
Amazing
reach out
boy
after that
band.
world tour. We're excited for you.
Oh yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks,
We really appreciate it. Thank you.
No worries at all. All right. Well, until next time, guys. Peace.
Peace.
Ciao.
Peace.